wesn.
The Caribbean has some of the highest rates of overweight and obesity in the Americas. The prevalence of obesity in Caribbean children is at an alarming 2 to 3 times higher than the rest of the world. Obesity is caused by a combination of genetic, environmental, and behavioral factors such as physical inactivity and unhealthy diet. Obesity places our children at an increased risk for developing serious diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, hypertension, and cancer. Furthermore, our children also face stigma and discrimination due to their weight, which can lead to poor emotional well-being and low self-esteem. These statistics underscore the urgent need for comprehensive public health strategies to address childhood obesity, including promoting healthy eating habits, encouraging physical activity, and implementing educational programs for children and their families. Dr. Nisha Maharaj joins us to discuss childhood obesity and the impact on their health and what measures can be implemented to turn this around. Ever wonder how your body turns food into energy? That's where vitamin B1, also known as thiamine, comes in. It's a key player in keeping your body fueled and your nerves working properly. Boosts energy production. Thiamine helps convert carbohydrates into energy, keeping you active and alert all day. Supports nerve function. It maintains healthy nerves, ensuring your brain and muscles communicate smoothly. Strengthens the heart. B1 plays a role in heart function, helping regulate heartbeats and circulation. Where can you find vitamin B1? Whole grains, brown rice, oats, and whole wheat bread. Legumes, beans, lentils, and peas. Meat and fish, pork, beef, and salmon. Nuts and seeds. Sunflower seeds and almonds are great sources. Since vitamin B1 is water-soluble, your body does not store it. You need it daily. Without enough, you may feel fatigued, weak, or even experience nerve issues. Stay powered up and keep your body running smoothly with vitamin B1.
Do you need treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
As always, we appreciate you starting your day with us. Let's get into this morning's first conversation.
Is the country's healthcare system more at risk more than ever?
Why it has remained unaddressed for so long.
Political parties get lots of cash, big cash from financiers, and then when they get that now, you can't account for it.
But it's really the specialist nurses who we are in a greater shortfall for.
We can tap into the resources and have them, at least form some mentorship programs.
Highlight our food systems, and which will attract persons from all over the world to come and experience something that actually supports the local economy.
We're lucky that we have a vibrant legal system that allows change to take place, and it's not that matters are just swept under the carpet and discrimination is allowed to be perpetrated.
A lot of people don't know that there were attempts to ban the carnival, suppress the carnival.
So we're here to talk about obesity in childhood. How often do you see this particular problem?
Probably 1 in 5 patients is overweight. And
20% of your population, you have obesity problem.
And ranging from as early as a toddler and going up to the older ages.
Okay.
So obviously to teenagers.
And from your practice, you've been practicing for over 20 years. So this is a phenomena that has been the same, or you're seeing an increase in the numbers over the years?
So definitely an increase in number over the years, and worldwide it is a phenomenon. So
what accounts for it?
They estimate 1 in 5 children, as we
worldwide.
said. Worldwide.
Okay.
So a lot of factors contribute. So we start with the children's close connection to their mobile phones, tablets, iPads, so they're no longer going out to play after
But we're talking
school.
about toddler.
Toddler overfeeding definitely by the parent. So there are a lot of parents that think that every time a child cries that he or she's hungry, so overfeeding, because as a toddler you don't have control over what you eat, it's what's given to you.
Right. And as the kid gets older, we're looking at in primary school now.
So as the kids get older, they demand things, /foods, /snacks that the parents must buy for them. But again, those bad choices were introduced much early on. So parents are usually meticulous about what goes into their children's mouths from 0 to 1 year. But then something happens after 1 year when we say to them, eat from the family pot.
Right.
Somehow the family pot extends to snacks, both sugary and salty, soft drinks and candies of all descriptions.
That's quite indicative of what goes in that family pot. So if you're saying that children from the age of 1 should be eating from the family pot, clearly they are adopting and adapting to the lifestyle, the nutritional habits of parents, nanny, granny, uncle, auntie. If they're eating desserts, eating in between snacks, choosing unhealthy food choices, that's what they're obviously going to be feeding the kids.
Correct.
So is it that it starts from the parents then?
I would say the greatest people who spoil are actually the grandparents. So the grandparents are the ones who, when the parents are not around, will go buy all the snacks.
Right.
And so that's my greatest challenge. So the parents would go back and tell the grandparents, please don't purchase this, please don't give them this, but it still trickles in.
Okay, so bad food choices, number 1 cause, you would say, for obesity in childhood.
And fast foods.
And fast foods. Okay, so we're talking about how frequently in terms of fast foods.
So there are some families that buy fast food every day. So it'll be a different food outlet and a different type of food, but more or less they buy food every day. So I'm trying to encourage my parents to start preparing meals at home, because I think once children get accustomed to the artificial taste of fried foods or heavily cheesy and salted foods, they get accustomed to that palate, which, as you know, vegetables and fruit don't taste like that.
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of parents would say that my daughter, my son is a picky eater. And I just want to make sure that she or he would eat anyway. So if they want fries, I'll give her the fries. Even though I know it's not a healthy choice, I just want to make sure that she eats. What do you say to a parent like that?
I have this conversation all the time.
Picky eaters.
Picky eaters, in inverted commas. So what I tell them to do is basically children don't purchase. So you'd have to stop buying all the stuff
Right.
and start preparing your meals. And yes, they won't eat it the first day, but you have to stick it out. It's a battle of wills. So the longest I've had a child not eating any of the home cooked food was 4 days. The average time is 4 to 5 days where they will not eat anything. They'll drink, but they won't eat anything that is given or prepared until they get really hungry, and then they eat. Works like a charm each time, but you have to stick it out.
That's pretty harsh. I mean, as a mom, for myself, if my kids skip a meal, I'm distressed.
I know, but then there's fruit.
Okay.
There's always apples, pears.
But all right, so yeah, I agree with that. But again, what I'm seeing, a lot of the kids nowadays, they don't choose healthy snacks, yogurt, granola bars, as you say, the fruits. They are choosing the corn curls, the chocolates, I don't know, bubble gum, whatever, ice cream.
Which brings us to the question of
what are we introducing into
correct, and who has the buying power?
Yeah.
So the buying power is always with the parent, not with the child.
So we're going right back to square one. From the time they're able to eat from that family pot, we should be introducing them to healthy choices and not give in to their whims and fancies.
Because because they would not know what is chocolate or candy or biscuits unless we introduce it, because they have no buying power. They don't like go to the grocery and make choices unless you've actually showed them.
Now, I'll be devil's advocate here. So Nisha, I have 2 kids, and when my kids were growing up, I wouldn't say I was strict, but I wanted to make sure that they ate healthily.
Sure.
So their snacks were fruits that we'd pick from the tree. It would be Jell-O, granola bars, yes, maybe popcorn, but popcorn that I would pop in the stove. The minute they started primary school, though, that's where the corruption took place, where their friends would be eating snacks. And so they saw friends eating things that they were never introduced before. And so my son got this affinity for chocolate through school, and then would use his allowance to buy the chocolates because that's what he was introduced to. So how, as a parent, even though you are particular about what your kids are eating, their meal plans, their snacks, and you're packing the nutritious meals for lunch, when they go to school, you have no control.
That is true. School is like the World Trade Center. They treat everything. They really do. I have a daughter. Yeah, they do. But sensible. So if they want some chocolate, you buy them the small version. If you look on the snack aisle, you would see the family size packs. I encourage all my parents to avoid those and to buy the smaller sized packs. And that would be smaller size chocolate bars. I'm not saying never give them a snack, but we have to be careful what we give them now because it affects what's going to happen to us as we get older. Yep. So if you think about what the 50-year-old me would have appreciated the 10-year-old me to do, that's a good way to look at things. So if you are not exercising as a child and you're eating unhealthy and you become obese, then you're more likely to be obese/overweight as an adult. And as we know, being overweight as an adult leads you to a host of health problems, what we call non-communicable diseases. So diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and strokes, heart disease. Yeah.
So, okay, we talked about meal choices, snack choices, moderation. And now you brought up a very important aspect, which is exercise, physical activity in children now. There is a paucity of that, yes?
Correct. And so there are some parents who still get their children into extracurricular activities after school.
Yes.
And there's a host of them. So you are spoiled for choice. There is tennis, there is swimming, there is a run club, there is dance, and so much more.
That all depends on the parent taking the time and the initiative to do that and introduce their kid and stick with it, right?
Correct.
A lot of parents, I'm not going to say why, but a lot of parents would prefer to just let the TV babysit or let the kids have their devices while they carry on and do what they have to do, as opposed to dedicate family time and say, right, let's go ride a bike, let's do the running, the football, because it requires time. It requires taking your kids traveling a distance, get to the football club, sit down, wait for them, come back home, and then start homework.
So being a parent, I do that routine. It's not impossible. Yes, it's exceptionally challenging because...
And you're a professional, so you're squeezing in all of that.
Yeah, it's possible. So I may not be able to do extracurricular 3 times for the week, but I can certainly do it twice.
Yeah.
So twice is better than none. And then what I encourage parents to do is you can do the class with them. So some of the karate instructors do allow the parents to partake. Say, for instance, you're going to do football. Football is usually outdoor.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in a park. So you can decide to walk around the park while they're doing football. So there's ways to maneuver where you can get the exercise in as a parent while they're having it as a child. Because usually the coaches prefer the parents not to be around because they sort of interfere in how things progress. So parents are there, but you can use that 1 hour or 2 hours to do something for your health as well.
And that's interesting that you are basically underscoring there the need for parents to set a good example to their children.
Correct.
What to put in their mouths and how they lead their lives, because we are the templates. So our kids are watching constantly. They watch what we eat, what we say, what we read, what we look at on television, and how physical we are. So lead by example.
Correct.
So if I'm telling you, go to your football practice, I'll also show you that I'm going to be doing the needful and keep my body fit as well.
And it's good for a parent to get exercise in because we can't underscore the importance of exercise.
Right.
So not only is it good for your health in terms of fitness, but it helps to control your weight. And as you know, when you exercise, you produce these things called endorphins that make us feel good. So we get a feel-good factor. They've proven that exercise stops or delays the regression of that part of your brain. So it sort of speeds off or delays Alzheimer's or even, so that part of your brain remains preserved if you exercise.
Yes.
And then, of course, you have a healthy heart, you have healthy organs, and you feel good when you exercise.
So let's talk about the ramifications of being obese in childhood.
So lots of ramifications. So first they start, as we said, they're sitting on their tablets, they're not doing any physical activity, then they're not eating food that's prepared by mom and dad because mom and dad have busy schedules. So lots of fast food, and then they become overweight. And then when they become overweight, they lack the initiative to move. So they sit a little bit more and they put on a little bit more weight.
Yep.
And then when they become obese, then they feel even less likely to move. So then they get issues with breathing difficulties, sleeping difficulties, and then that leads to the non-communicable diseases we spoke about.
What about diabetes in childhood?
Diabetes in childhood is becoming very common. Traditionally, it used to be type 1, which is where the pancreas stopped working and they need insulin.
Yeah.
But now we have teenagers who have type 2 diabetes, which means that their pancreas isn't producing enough insulin because the sugar that their body's exposed to is too much.
Yeah. So originally, for the viewers out there, type 2 diabetes would be an older demographic, middle age, again, because of lifestyle, but because we are now sort of imposing that lifestyle, that bad lifestyle onto our children. Children are now developing type 2 diabetes. And what's the ramifications of that? I mean, you have eye issues, we have
kidney issues.
Kidney at young ages, right?
Yes,
So
and heart issues. You can get a heart attack when they're 35, 40, when that was reserved for more years 60, 65, 70. So it's happening to us younger because we're making bad choices.
With respect to the curriculum, the education system in Trinidad and Tobago, do you think that there's need for more emphasis on the overall well-being and development of the child? There's a lot of emphasis right now with SEA and schools and exams and getting first choice. And we're moving away from the mental health of the child, the overall well-being of the child, physical well-being, exercise, playing an instrument, appreciating music, you know. Do you think there is need for more of that in our curriculum?
So most definitely. So currently, most schools, either primary or secondary, has one dedicated day for PE.
Yes.
And that might be an hour in some schools, maybe 2 hours max. My daughter goes to secondary school, so she has a 2-hour allotment where they do PE, and they really do physical education. And I think that if we could get 2 days in a week, or 3 days in a week, because in the real world, there are a lot of parents who can't afford the extracurricular activities, because it sounds nice to say, let's do this and do that, but there's a fee that's attached. So if we were able to provide more sessions in school, then we get more kids healthier.
Yeah. And with respect, as you said, it's a vicious cycle. So the child is putting on weight, can't breathe properly, can't move, and as a result can't move, will put on more weight. What goes on with the mental and emotional well-being of a child who is overweight? Let's talk about bullying.
Oh, wow. So bullying is indeed a factor. You don't even need to be that much overweight. If you're obese, it's tough. And if you're overweight, it is still tough. So I think that, as you mentioned, the school curriculum, I think the first thing that we should teach before SEA is kindness and acceptance. And
I like that.
there are some children who will be overweight because they have health issues, because there are other causes of being overweight besides eating badly. So they may have a hormonal issue. It may be genetic. They may have a medical issue that's stopping them from exercises. So for example, they may have an issue with a joint, or they may have issues with, they may have an underlying health issue like kidney failure, or they may have heart disease. So they may not be able to exercise and hence be a little overweight. So we have to take those things into consideration, and we have to teach everyone that acceptance is better than alienation.
Yeah.
So children will have different shapes and sizes, and we need to practice more acceptance. So if anything from today, I just want people to understand that it's not about looking like a supermodel or fitting into a certain body type or shape. It's being the best version of yourself health-wise.
Yes, yes. And it's all about choices and making the right choices and getting the support and the guidance from the parents. Parents need to understand they play a crucial role in their child's life. And it really doesn't end. They're always involved, right?
Yes, and my thing is food preparation. So if you can prep your meals and cook enough food for 2 or 3 days, then you're not under pressure to buy something that's usually unhealthy. So food prep is really important. And say it's been a busy day, you spent 2 hours in traffic to get home, everybody is tired. You can pull that food out of the fridge, and then you can, if, depending on the age of the child, you can get them involved in making the salad. It's very easy.
Yeah,
It's
very interesting that obesity affects so many aspects of a kid's life, especially things like periods and regularity or irregularity of periods. And again, that's going to affect the sense of self for that particular girl.
Yes.
Do you see that often as well?
Yes, but interestingly enough, we see irregular periods with obesity, but more and more we're seeing irregular periods with the stress of SEA. So it's not only obesity anymore.
Yeah.
But yes, obesity affects every factor. It affects the way you feel about yourself. So if you get up in the morning and you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling low, because as a child you may not be able to express depression, but if you're feeling low, you're just not going to want to do anything.
Yeah.
So you're going to get up and you can be like, okay, I'm just going to sit. You're not enthused to go out and play.
Yeah. So Nisha, we've captured in terms of obesity, the causes of it, and the smart choices that we can make as parents to help our children along the way. If there was one piece of advice, one golden nugget of information that you could leave our viewers today about childhood obesity and living healthy, what would that be?
5 grams of sugar equal 1 teaspoon. Watch your sugar content. Read all your labels.
Okay. Read all your labels.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Claudette, radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
And it's, nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe in different criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
So we're going to do a lovely recipe that you can use ingredients that are readily available in your kitchen. It's called chickpea salad wrap. Chef Emmanuel is here to show us how.
Thank you, Doc.
In Trinidad and Tobago, cervical cancer still remains a serious health problem, ranking the third most frequent cancer among women in this country.
So you may be happily at home not knowing you might have the early signs or the early stages of cervical cancer. So the first thing is that it can be completely without any symptoms or signs.
WESN.
Hi, I'm Claudette, radiographer at the radiology departments at the community hospital. We offer high-quality service with state-of-the-art equipment in X-ray, ultrasound, CT, and mammogram. Come, our friendly staff awaits you.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
The best for your baby is at thebesttoys.com. From the best strollers, car seats, baby carriers, high chairs, booster seats, rockers, jumpers and bouncers, walkers, baby blankets, feeding accessories, bathtubs. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship McLean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 332-BABY. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands, and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital billboards across the nation, contact us to learn about our competitive rates via marketing at wesncc.com or call us at 628-5835. WESN Content Capital, television with a difference.
And politically, we are convinced that the only solution, if you want to avoid other 7th of October, is clearly to find a fair and durable solution.
It remains, though, we agree, a symbolic recognition at this point.
But of course, it will be symbolic, but we have, after that, to work on the very concrete steps. The first one is certainly to strengthen the Palestinian Authority. We have also to give security guarantees to Israel, in particular by the fact that only the Palestinian Authority will have the monopoly of using force, which means that we don't want to see any more militias like Hamas or the Islamic Jihad. It has to be the Palestinian Authority. So this, we have to elaborate all the different steps going to the Palestinian state. This is clear.
France not a major player when it comes to negotiating peace between Israelis and Palestinians, but you mentioned the word Lebanon earlier.
Yeah.
Among your colleagues at the French Foreign Ministry, how much are they irked by the way things are going right now as they try to help reform in Lebanon?
No, they are a little bit worried because for the time being, you have this violation, there is no other word, of what is the conditions of the ceasefire. And this is not acceptable because, of course, it doesn't help the reform in Lebanon.
Was that a factor in Emmanuel Macron's announcement when it comes to possible recognition of a Palestinian state?
It is a factor, but when you say that we are not a major player for the Israeli-Palestinian question, it is true. Everybody knows that the main players will be, on one hand, President Trump. On the other hand, it will be the Prince Mohammed bin Salman, for one good reason. President Trump has said that his priority was to have a normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel, because he wants to have a coalition between the Gulf countries and Israel in front of Iran. But on the other hand, the Prince Mohammed bin Salman made it very clear that he has no problem with the recognition of Israel, at the condition that there will be the establishment of a Palestinian state. So we will have a negotiation there between these two leaders. But of course, they are not the only one to be part of the negotiation. And at some point, it is important that we do support the Saudi position in favor of the establishment of a Palestinian state, and we will do so. And this is the rationale behind the initiative, the joint initiative between France and Saudi Arabia.
Bertrand Besancenot, thank you so much for being with us here on France.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
The U.S. Defense Secretary passing on a Thursday meeting of NATO on Ukraine, a further sign, say allies, of disengagement by Washington when it comes to supporting Kyiv. All this as we see further signs of a warming relations between Washington and Moscow with an exchange of prisoners. Emerald Maxwell has more.
It's the second prisoner swap between the United States and Russia since Donald Trump returned to the White House in January. In these pictures broadcast by Russian state television, Russian-German national Arthur Petrov is seen boarding a plane after the United States released him.
I haven't slept for 48 hours. It was a long, exhausting flight with a connection.
Accused by US courts of supporting Moscow's war effort in Ukraine by smuggling sensitive microelectronics to Russia, Arthur Petrov was exchanged for Russian-American Ksenia Karelina, sentenced last year in Russia to 12 years in prison for treason after she made a donation of around $50 to a charity aiding Ukraine. On social media platform X, the US Secretary of State welcomed her return after Russia, he said, wrongfully detained her for over a year, adding that President Trump had secured her release. The prisoner exchange comes as American and Russian delegations meet for a second round of talks, this time in Istanbul. According to both sides, the normalization of their respective embassies' work is on the agenda, but not the war in Ukraine.
Meanwhile, the tumult continues on world markets. Europe finishing positive territory, but that Kemi Knight, who's here for business. Hello, Kemi. How are you?
Hi, Francois. Very well.
Was before we had word that Trump had again raised tariffs on China.
That's right. We have two very different pictures depending on what continent you're looking at. European stocks, like you said, closing higher for their best session in 3 years after Trump's reversal of his tariff policy. The EU's decision to pause its own tariffs for 90 days also playing a big part there. Germany's DAX leading gains, closing up 4.67%. France's CAC 40 up 3.8%. The US stock market, on the other hand, is definitely sinking back to reality a bit. Stocks falling Thursday, giving back more than half of the historic rally seen in the previous session. The Dow plunging 2,000 points, the Nasdaq down about 7%, and the S&P at more than 6%, as you can see there. Now, it comes after the S&P 500 soared more than 9% for its third largest gain in a single day since World War II. But despite that initial optimism, a lot of investors are showing they're not reassured enough, since a delay in tariffs doesn't remove any of the uncertainty that had been rattling the markets. And of course, a number of tariffs are still in place. Most countries are still subject to a blanket 10% levy. China is being hit with a 145% tariff on goods. That's 125 plus the extra 20 that were already in place. The White House has just clarified that. And tariffs on aluminium, steel and auto imports are, of course, still in place. Now, US stock markets may have cooled, but obviously they had a massive boost Wednesday. And now some prominent Democratic politicians are asking who benefited most from the market jump and whether or not they may have known the president's move in advance, saying an investigation into possible insider trading is on the way. Brian Quinn has more.
$100 million.
A hot tip from the ultimate insider. On Wednesday morning, as stock markets continued their downward slide over Donald Trump's massive tariffs on worldwide trading partners, the president advised his 9.5 million followers on his Truth social network to buy back in. Just hours later, he put a 90-day pause on nearly all the reciprocal tariffs that had shocked economists and traders with their scope and scale, sending U.S. indexes skyrocketing. The S&P 500 gaining 9.5% in a matter of hours. The tech-heavy Nasdaq up 12%. Now, Democratic lawmakers are asking who benefited from the sudden U-turn and if they knew in advance.
In any administration this corrupt, it is more than necessary to ask, were people personally profiting from insider information while people's savings, their retirement accounts, were being torched?
Of particular concern is that Trump signed his Truth Social post DJT, his own initials, but also the ticker symbol for Truth Social shares, which shot up nearly 23% on the day, adding $415 million to Trump's personal stake in the company. Up by a similar margin was Tesla, whose CEO Elon Musk has been publicly arguing against Trump's tariffs in recent days, Musk's net worth getting a $20 billion boost. There is as yet no specific proof of insider trading on Wednesday's policy reversal. Trump and his entourage, though, have already come under fire for questionable financial ethics, like using his hotels as pricey lodging for visiting foreign dignitaries, using the White House lawn for a Tesla promotional event, and the launch of his personal meme coin, a purely speculative cryptocurrency that racked up some $100 million in trading fees, even while small traders lost money.
Now, we've heard a lot of reasons as to why Trump made the decision to pause most tariffs. Trump said people were, in his words, getting a bit yippy. And though what he means there isn't